Hi, my name is Dan Schmitt, and this is Team Chicago Challenge. We're at Daytona. We're here with AHRMA, American Historic Racing Motorcycles Association. Today we're going to be looking at some of the action, but we're going to be going to DeLand, which is an airport track. I got better footage of the racing at DeLand. You get to see some of the vintage bikes from 1940 all the way through the 60s, the 70s, and we're also going to look at some of the dirt track racing that ran over at Alcala. So we'll show some of that footage. I talked to some of the riders, some of the bikes, and we're going to talk about some of these old bikes and see some of the racing.
First race, pre-1940. Up front, it looks like Alex McLean on the 39 Norton 500 single. Second place, Carlton Palmer on a 37 Vincent 500 single. A bike that was raced at the Isle of Man in 1937. Art Farley's moving on that 37 Indian. As we see Dino Rodi and Al Knapp, Harley Davidson against Norton. Second wave, 200 GP up front, 47. It's Edward Singing on that 62 Ducati 200 single. Right with him was like Bob Hayes, Paul Sheldon, Carl Anderson, Craig Brecken, Charles Sexton. They come through this switchback area. Now heading down the front straightaway. Got Dino Rodi on that Norton. Number 27, Al Knapp on the 1940 Harley. Tank shifter gets on the power, that 750 side valve. Going past that 500 overhead valve. Still up front, 200 GP. It's Edward Sensing on that Ducati. Coming by now. In the lead, Alex McLean. Carlton Palmer's running second on that Vincent. Art Farley comes by in a 37 Indian, and it's a 750 side valve. Dino Rodi on that 1930 Norton International. He gets back around Al Knapp on that 1940 Harley Davidson 750. Losing in the lead now. Bob Hayes on the Yamaha 180 to 1967. Using that two-stroke. Paul Schoen on the 71 DSA has moved to second. Carl Anderson fourth. Craig Brecken on the BSA is fifth. As we see that Indian come flashing by, that's Art Farley running in third. Down the front straightaway. Up front though, 39 Norton. Listen to this baby purr. Comes flashing by. Carlton Palmer second. And that 37 Vincent. What a rare piece. Only 50 were ever built. Art Farley running third. Battle up front, the 200 GP between Bob Hayes, Edward Sensing, Paul Sheldon, Carl Anderson, Craig Brecken. But in the end, Bob Hayes picking up the win in the 200 GP.
Let's jump back to 1998. Got to ride Chip Garfield's great TD3 250.
So let's take a quick lap around this airport racetrack at DeLand. And this is how they used to race right after the war. In England after the war, they had many runways that were used by the Allies during World War II. Here's turn one. You got a tight corner, 4 downshifts. Get on the gas. You got this easy turn 2. And then this other straightaway, which is about 1,800 feet. Shift up to 6th gear. Okay, this DT3 is really a nice bike. And you go to 4 downshifts, down to 2nd again. Here goes that Moto Guzzi by. And we got these S's to the right, to the left. And then back to the right again. down this other return road. This was also about 1,800 or 2,000 feet. I just clicked it into sixth. 3 downshifts, and into this corner I made it one sweeping 180-degree corner by swinging wide, carrying my speed. There goes Walter Hoffman from Germany, and he's on a Yamaha. As I swing wide, I stay off the paint. And we got this sweeping left-hander that leads us onto the front straightaway. And I thought this was quite a nice racetrack. I had big fun out here riding this Chicago Psycho 4 and 6 TD3 250.
In 1997, 98, and 99, I had the opportunity to run a good number of AHRMA road races, thanks to Chip Larkby.
Next up, Classic 60s. Jumping off the line, we got the Classic 60s and the Classic 60s 650 class running together in this first wave. They're heading into turn 1 and 2. Second wave is 350 GP. They wait for the green flag. Head down the first corner, flashing by now. That's Joseph Brenner on that BSA in the lead, second place. It's at Alan Johncock, Dave Beatsworth, Alex McLean, Rusty Lowry on the Harley. They head down the second straightaway. Coming by now in 350 GP, Jay Richardson, and at 64 AJS, Tim Ming coming by on the Honda 350, Edward Sensing on the Ducati. So head down back chute, coming back onto the main straightaway. 346 is Alan Johncock on that matchless. He's on the charge. Up front with that BSA. Jay Richardson comes by in at AJS. Listen to his single cylinder purr. Down the front straightaway, it's Jody Hance on the Ducati. Moving up to second, third place, second place, David Beadsworth on that BSA. 795 is Jay Richardson comes by in at AJS. Listen to the single cylinder purr as he flashes through this switchback, connecting the runways out here at DeLand. Jay Richardson checking out of this race, going good. Look at that BSA down the front straight. 795 is David Beesworth, also on a BSA. See Jay Richardson on that AJS, looking good as he heads down the front straightaway. 47, that's Edward Sensing on the Ducati. 921, it's Johnny DeMorzi on that Twin Triumph 350. But walking away with Classic 60s on that BSA Gold Star, that's Joseph Brenner. Second place went to Alan Johncock. David Beesworth third. Alex McLean fourth. Bob Goodpasture goes on to pick up the win in Classic 60s. As Jay Richardson comes by in 350 GP, he ran into engine problems, so picking up the win, it was Tim Mings. Honda was first, Edward Sensing was second, Floyd Jennings was third, Johnny DeMoise on that Twin Triumph was fourth. As we see Bob Goodpasture on that 650 Norton picking up the win in that class. Now let's head back to the pits and talk to some of the riders and look at their machine.
I'm Cooper. This is a 1960 BSA Gold Star. Bought it about almost 20 years ago. It was a total basket case, and I paid $1 for it. And I've spent even more on it in the last 20 years than that. been a veteran of the series. I won the Classic 60s championship with it in 2000, and it's sort of an ongoing R&D project. Trying to save weight, build up horsepower, and still get results. So its finishing record has been a bit checkered, but it's generally there when it needs to be. So it's been a fun ride. It's a neat bike. It makes the right sound. It looks good. And it goes pretty fast. So.
Cooper's beautiful BSA. There was a few Vincents in the pit area. A couple people rode in. It was like a black shadow. And this full-bodied Vincent, I believe they called this the Black Knight. Very rare, beautiful motorcycle, built in the 50s. And now here's a rare 500 single Vincent, Carlton Palmer's single cylinder. Only 50 were built, and this 1937 Vincent single. This bike raced at the Isle of Man in 1937. Johnny DeMoise's Triumph 350 twins that run in the GP class.
Are we up first, Gil?
These riders love their bikes, take great care. These are museum pieces that you can see on the racetrack at your AHRMA Nationals. Now let's listen to Jay Richardson, who's going to tell us about his Norton.
My name's Jay Richardson. I own this 1964 Norton Manx. It's actually a replica of a 1964 Norton Manx. Double overhead cam, single GP bike from the late 60s. Magnesium hubs, magnesium cases, very high tech for its day. The bike itself is a reproduction, and only one screw is actually original on the motorcycle. Completely redone in England from scratch about 2 years ago. So absolutely awesome what they can produce you nowadays for a motorcycle right out of the box.
Here's an excellent Perella single cylinder and another Norton Max overhead cam single cylinder 500. The bike that dominated the beach 1949, 1950, and 1952. Next up, Super Mono. Up front, that's Al Charles. On that Super Mono Ducati. This is the modern bikes, single cylinders. Mike Richardson is on that Scorpion. Bruce Brown, also on a 97 Scorpion. Colin Frazier's on that 650 Honda. Also running his Sound of Singles 2-stroke. This is also modern single cylinder 125s. 24, that's David Wright on that 96 Honda 125. 31 is Mark Loveland on a 96 Honda single cylinder. Also running Battle of the Twins. It's like Eric Soul, and in the white leathers, that's our one female racer, Sandrine Dufils from France, and that 350 Yamaha. As you see Al Charles come flashing by again on the Super Mono. Bruce Brown, Mike Richardson on them Scorpions. Got a good selection of bikes running the single class, modern singles, overhead cams. Eric Soul battling in that Battle of the Twins 2-stroke. David Wright on that Sound of Singles 2-stroke. These 125s really fly. Here comes David Wright again. And in the 2-strokes, it's Eric Soul and that 78 Pamoda. But we had a chance to talk to this female racer from France, so let's go to that right now.
So my name is Sandrine Dufils. I'm coming from Paris, I'm French, and it's the second time I'm coming here to Daytona. So I was in DeLand last Thursday to try the bike that I had, which is a 350 Yamaha TZ, and it's a Bimosa Yamaha. And so I was in DeLand, and I did 5th in DeLand. In the race we were, the name is ICGP, which is International Classic Grand Prix, with ancient pilots, with many guys. Actually, it's the only guys because there's not one girl coming here. I just met one girl actually in another category, but I'm the only one racing TZ. I'm the only one in France racing TZ.
To come back to the racing action, it's Al Charles winning the Super Mono, Mike Richardson second, Bruce Brown third, Colin Frazier fourth. Sound the singles two-stroke, it's David Wright picking up the win. Jim Stuck was second, Mark Loveland was third. In Battle of the Twins, two-stroke, it was David Luxer on the Yamaha picking up the win. Dominique Bridget was second. Jacqueline Dussault was third. And Sandrine Dufils finished fourth on that 79 Yamaha 350. Now let's run to Ocala for short track action. First race, Dinosaur. 500, 750. Number 1, George Wills, Craig Brecken, Dino Rodi, Bruce Armsgetcher. Off the line, Craig Brecken. And he had 39, Triumph. 500 twin, overhead valve. Second place, George Wills on that Harley Davidson WR 750 side valve. They're on this slick little notch. Jackson Speedway in Ocala, Florida. George Wills makes the move up front. He's in that bit of O'Blarney, Manhattan, Illinois, Harley Davidson, wheels through time, hogwash, WR 750, Harley Davidson side valve. In this class, the side valve motors can run 750 to overhead valve engines. Are limited to 500. We see Craig Brecken trying to make a smart move on this slick notch, trying to chase down George Wills. Third place, Dino Rodi on that Norton. Fourth place, Bruce Armgesinger, and he's on a Royal Enfield. Both of those are 500 singles. Craig Brecken trying to make the charge. Brecken's a groove racer, but not today. George Wills has got the hot hand on the slick sand in Ocala, Florida for the AHRMA Vintage in the Dinosaur class. Dino Rodi running third on that Norton, but in the end, picking up the win, George Wills on that bit of O'Barney Manhattan Harley Davidson. Next up, Super Senior. From the back row, he got penalized on the start is Jack Warren, the rider out of Michigan, on that 750 Triumph. Jack Warner's been around many tracks. He's a go fast as he's making his way. He's in third now. Up front, it's like Marvin Brown, Al Gali, Mickey Elzora, but Jack Warner's a man possessed, starting from the third row, but he knows how to get around these slick notches. He was the king of Clarksville, Clarks Motor Speedway, and he's got great running, Triumph motorcycles, but this is the plus 60 class. Whoa, almost loses the lead, but as he gets on the gas, it's Jack Warner showing everybody the fast way around this short track. Jackson Motorsport Park with the AHRMA National. Norm Gruber out of Waukegan. I think he's running about 6th place. There's Jack Warner up front, 2nd place. Marvin Brown, 3rd place. Mickey Elzona, 3 Triumphs. 4th place, and the BSA is William Burr. 5th place, Al Gali on the Yamaha. But the Triumphs are getting the power down. It's the plus 60 class. All these riders are over 60 years old, and they're all going fast. I tell you, Jack Warner, he's an inspiration for all racers. And I don't think I've ever beaten this guy. But this year, I'll be out there with my Triumph. We'll go head-to-head in some class. But he's looking good out here at Jackson Motorsport Park with this AHRMA Vintage National. Let's head back to DeLand for more action on the road course. Next up, Formula 750. Jumping off the line, number 9. It's Gary Nixon, two-time AMA national champ. Right with him looks like Charles Cole on the Moto Guzzi at Ford 79. But Gary Nixon's on that M3 Honda 4-cylinder 1970. This is a replica of the bike that Dick Mann won the 200-miler at Daytona in 1970. Gary Nixon, also a Daytona 200 winner, two-time national champ, Formula 750. We see some more of the riders, a good number of riders in this Formula 750 race. We got 3-cylinder BSAs, we got Moto Guzzi, we got Harley Davidsons, got Norton, Rickmans, a good number of bikes racing in Formula 750 at the airport in DeLand with the AHRMA Vintage. So wait for them to come back onto the main straightaway. A couple riders are right there with Gary. Jim Stuck on the Nortons trying to catch up. He's running good, but Gary Nixon has got the hot hand at DeLand. Gary Nixon, who could have been, if he didn't get robbed, America's first international world champion in the Formula 750 class back in the 70s. Gary Nixon, two-time national champ, 1967 and 1968. And he's looking good, looking as strong as ever. Jim Stuck on that Norton is trying to get around him. Charles Cole running third. Ken Nemoto on the Moto Guzzi's running fourth. His publishing director out of Tokyo came all the way to DeLand and Daytona to race his Italian-built Moto Guzzi. You see a battle behind, but for the lead and going on to pick up the win in Formula 750, Gary Nixon on that M3 Honda 750. In the last race at DeLand, Premier 500 at Mooney on that 62 Norton 500. Jay Richardson's running second on his 64 Norton 500. As the battle goes on, this is the 500 Premier class, the AHRMA Vintage Nationals. Listen to this beautiful Norton come flashing by. What a sound. Overhead cam, exposed springs. Jay Richardson on his beautiful Norton. He told me he spent 40,000 Canadian or 20,000 pounds to put that bike together. But charging is Joseph Brenner, and he had 62 BSA Gold Star. Glenn Hansley and Billy Lilly are on Honda 450s. Larry Poons on the 71 Sealy 500. Jody Hans on the Ducati 250. Craig McLean on the Matchless. But flashing by is Pat Mooney on the Charge. Joseph Brenner on the BSA Gold Star. What a classic battle. And the beautiful thing about the industry in England, where they're rebuilding these engines, you can buy these exact engines, new castings, new parts. and have great runners. These bikes are flying out here at DeLand, at the airport. As we see Jay Richardson trying to chase down Pat Mooney, but making the charge, Joseph Brenner on that BSA Gold Star. This is the classic battle. Music for the show by Engine, Mike Preetz, Intrigue and Travesty, and all this music recorded Fireside Studios, Westchester, Illinois. Indiana was Pat Mooney picking up the win. Joseph Brenner was second. Jay Richardson was third. Brent Hansley was fourth. Billy Lilly was fifth. And that's it, the AHRMA Vintage National at DeLand outside of Daytona Beach.
I was very lucky that I got to ride some great vintage motorcycles. And for more information on American Historic Racing Motorcycles Association, their website is AHRMA.org. They are the premier vintage group in the USA, AHRMA.org. To contact me, and I love to hear from my audience, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. Remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action. And I'll eventually be up there on Rumble, and you should search with Dan Schmitt TV. A good time racing in Florida. And I highly encourage you to visit the World of Motorcycle Museum, Winamac, Indiana, 4 miles south of North Judson. They're right on Indiana 39. Give them a call first at 574-896-3172. It's a great trip and a great collection of motorcycles.